Hey everybody, welcome back to Weather for Weather Geeks, the midweek edition, Wednesday evening, and we've got some rain to talk about over the next 24 hours for a change. It's been kind of rinse and repeat so far this week with cold, frosty mornings and sunny, beautiful afternoons, but that will change on Thursday. But quickly, a review of today's numbers. They were impressive. We even outdid our forecast today. 59 at the Youngstown Warren Airport today. That's our average high on about April the 12th. Not February the 21st, obviously. The average is 39 at this time of the year. The record today is 71 back in 1997. Pretty impressive range today. 30 this morning, 59 this afternoon. We even had some spots in the lower 20s to kick off the day today. So in some places, it was an even more impressive, what we call diurnal range. Where is the cold, and where has the cold been all winter long? A look at temperatures this evening across the northern hemisphere. We've got, of course, some cold up near the Arctic Circle in Canada, but the mother lode is on the other side of the pole. And this is where it's lived for a lot of the winter season. It's over parts of Siberia and Eurasia and South and Eastern Asia as well. A lot of China has had a pretty cold stretch over the last several weeks. And every time there's been a disruption to the polar vortex, it has kicked a lot of the cold over to this side of the planet, not on our side of the planet. Now, we're going to talk more about the polar vortex coming up at the end of this video, but that's been one of the reasons why this winter has been so lame in so many places. When we compare snowfall this year to last year, they've had hardly anything this winter in the upper Midwest. Minneapolis over to Green Bay, places like that. Buffalo area's had a lot less than last year. A lot of interior New England has had less than last year. Now in our local area, we've actually had more snow this winter than last winter, but that's not really saying much. We had almost a record low amount of snow last winter. It was our most snow-free winter since the 1930s. We've had a little bit more this year, but of course we're still way, way behind average. And those numbers are at the airport. There's a couple of spots in our viewing area, especially Newton Falls, Southington, the Warren area. In those places, you've actually had a little bit less snow than last winter, but officially at the airport over here, it's just a little bit above, about 8 inches above our level through today's date last year. All right, it's not snow, but it's rain coming our way over the next 12 hours or so. It doesn't look like much right now, but actually this low is going to start really picking up some fairly deep moisture for this time of the year. This is still February, but this is, a little more like an April pattern for the time being, and so this is going to be able to squeeze out quite a bit of rain across our area. There may be a scattering of showers for a few hours overnight, but the bulk of the rain, the lion's share of the rain, will come towards daybreak tomorrow morning. So I think as a lot of people head off to work and school, it's going to be raining. And while it's not going to rain every minute of the day on Thursday, it's going to be pretty much, for all intents and purposes, a washout. If you have to work outside, if your plans involve being outdoors for any reason, just plan on just a rainy day. The intensity will be on the moderate side. At times it may come down at a decent clip, at times it'll be pretty light, and it's all going to add up. Our model trends have definitely been going up as far as the amount of rain, and don't forget you can get these hourly rain chances anytime on the Storm Tracker 21 app. Our model consensus now is closer to 1 inch than a half an inch, where the model consensus was yesterday at this time. So I think a lot of us are going to end up right in through here, maybe 0.9 to 1 inch, maybe a little bit more in some spots before this rain tapers off. Again, the timing, washout during the daylight hours tomorrow. Now, this will take a little bit more of a southerly track for us tomorrow, and while that will probably mean more rain tomorrow, it means a faster shutoff to the rain. A more amplified low that cuts a little more in this direction would keep the threat for rain maybe a little bit longer into tomorrow night, but I think this rain's going to taper off fairly quickly tomorrow evening, leaving us with clouds tomorrow night and then some sun for Friday. Now, this cold front, the air mass with it is impressive. It's going to be a big change, but it's going to be a brief change. So, yes, a quick injection of cold Friday night into Saturday. Might be a couple of flurries sneaking around for a time Friday evening. But then Saturday is just a blustery cold day with a mix of sun and clouds. And, there might be a couple of renegade lake effect bands trying to set up maybe somewhere downwind of Lake Huron into northern Ohio. I don't think we see any flurry activity of any consequence around our viewing area, but could the Cleveland area, the Akron area, maybe see a couple of flurries Saturday morning? Yeah, I think that'll be a possibility. For us in the Youngstown area, the story Saturday is going to be the cold. I mean, the wind chills will be no higher than the teens to around 20. In the afternoon, those wind chills will be a lot better by Sunday, of course, as it starts to warm up. The air temperatures will really start to recover nicely by Sunday afternoon. Let's talk about the longer range. We know at this point, of course, early March is going to be warm. What we're looking at on this map is a map of what's going on in the stratosphere, almost the very top of the atmosphere, to be honest. If you're a weather geek and you're used to talking about pressure in millibars, this is the analysis at the 10 millibar level. That's way up there, almost to the top of the atmosphere. We look at this level when we talk about stratospheric warming events, those kinds of events that can displace the polar vortex and send cold shooting out in some directions away from those northern latitudes. Now, this is a look at the current situation. There's some warming. It's pressing against the polar vortex, but the vortex is still fairly strong, and it's certainly almost over the North Pole. And so we don't have any sort of displacement really going on of any consequence right now. I'm going to roll this forward all the way to the beginning of March. We're going to stop this animation on March the 4th. This is when the models are in pretty decent agreement, I must say, that we'll get a more substantial push of warm air or warming way up in the atmosphere that will serve to dislodge the polar vortex a little bit more. Now, the models are in pretty decent agreement that this is going to discharge some cold down into North America, not immediately. There's always a lag with this, but maybe a week or two after this stratospheric warming. So far this year, whenever we've seen something like this, a lot of the cold's gone over here, but right now the models are showing the cold trying to come into our part of the globe, mostly during the second half of March. Do we believe the models? Because there's decent agreement right now, I think, odds favor some sort of warming that will probably make the pattern colder in our area as we get deeper into March. But can you take it to the bank, given the track record this winter? No, you can't. And you also have to remember that any impacts from this would be later in March when our averages are rising quickly. And it's not like, in late March, it's all that likely that we'd go into some horrible deep freeze like we would in January. The other thing of note, the last time we had a stratospheric warming at this time of the year in a strong fading El Nino was 2016. We had an early March stratospheric warming that really had no impact whatsoever on temperatures across the eastern U.S. In fact, March of 2016 was very warm. April was not as warm compared to the average, but it wasn't anything crazy as far as the cold. And so, the stratospheric warming can take place. I think it's fairly likely at this point that it will take place. Its eventual impacts here, the jury is out on. The models are showing some cold, but I wouldn't take it to the bank just yet, given the track record this winter and what happened the last time we had something similar at a similar time of the year with a similar setup with El Nino. This El Nino this winter was the strongest since that winter of 2015-2016. Of course, we'll have much more to say on the longer range as we go into late February and early March. I mentioned this last evening, I think, but I'll be doing an official spring outlook for March, April, and May. Probably towards the end of next week, maybe the week after. So you can look forward to that. As always, a more detailed version right here on Weather for Weather Geeks. I'll post a blog about it and talk about it on television as well. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Have a great night. I'll see you back here on Thursday.